Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Sherm in the Booth. My name is Sherm. You guys are some true Chicagoans for coming out in January. It's snowing outside, it's freezing, and you're at the fucking club at 1 a.m.
Boys with the bass, yeah, boys, bass.
Who am I talking to right now? You're famous.
Free food, free drinks, music, girls. Let's go.
Do you like it? Cool. If you don't, goodbye.
I'm missing the most important part.
Boys with the bass, yeah.
We should throw like a crazy bar mitzvah party.
This is crazy. Send me stems. I finished it.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Just wait, you know it kicks in like 3 to 5 seconds afterward.
Yo, what's good, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm, and this is episode 234. We have an incredible interview today that I am very excited to share with you all. Episode 234 features afro-house DJ and producer Val Fleury. A multifaceted creator and artist, Val has positioned herself as one of the biggest upcoming talents in dance music today. I really enjoyed our conversation. She has such a pure love for music and backs up that passion with raw and authentic talent. Val is a champion of the underground and the LGBTQ community who consistently shows up for the scene. I love that. Her talents as a DJ and producer should not go unnoticed or overlooked. She's played across the world, literally 6 continents, and has a really unique sound that's catching some serious steam in the afro-house world and beyond. I'd also highly encourage you to check out her 3 latest tracks at the very least. Now, enough of me talking, let's get into it right now. This is episode 234 with Val Fleury. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Sherm in the Booth. I am here with the super fly, extra beautiful, fantastic Val Fleury today. Val, was that enough compliments to kick up a podcast?
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm blushing right now.
I can't help it. I'm here. I'm in my Nike t-shirt in my room in Chicago, doing my best to look good, but I know the conversation is going to be even better than you look today, so I'm so excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited too. This has been a bit on the books, and I'm so excited it's finally here.
I know. Sometimes it takes that long to just like set a date out in advance, but I'm like that, right? Like if you're on the calendar, we're going to make it happen. I don't know how you organize your life. You're very busy. Are you Gmail calendar? Do you write it down? Do you do both?
That's so funny. I always joke, but it's true that my love language is Google Invites. Like, honestly, if there's like a 6th love language, like, compliments and acts of services, Google Calendar Invites. It's how you will win my love.
Unbelievable. Well, let's get vulnerable, shall we? Huh? I love that. That's so true. Like I'm someone, I have like everything on my Gmail calendar. I have like events already next year, and there are so many people who aren't that. I can't imagine not living that way. Like I like the routine. I like to still be spontaneous, of course, but every week before my week gets started, I write every day what I'm going to do and what I have to focus on. And then I refer back. There's something about the pen to paper too. That's a love language, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, let's get this spontaneous, but between this hour and this hour, we can be as spontaneous as you want from like 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
on a Sunday.
There's other things happening here.
Yeah. That's great. Well, we have a lot in common. So you are an incredibly talented DJ, producer, ambassador of the underground. Before we even went live, you were mentioning all the things that you do on the side, graphic design, just passion projects. I mean, it's unbelievable these days what you have to do, but it sounds like you really love all of the things that you do. Is it safe to assume that?
I think that's a great assumption. For me, being a middle child in a really large, loud Liberian family, I've always had to find my own way, my own space. My family's fantastic. Most of them are like athletes or in international business and some politics. So like the arts part was my thing. And that manifested for me since childhood as music, as like visual art, and just people. I think like the great thing about music and design, especially visual design, it's connections, right? Like sometimes people don't speak the same language or have the same background, but people, it seems like they can a lot of times find commonality between like what they're seeing aesthetically or what they're hearing and just bring people together. So I kind of think that's like my through line between the two.
I love that. Wait, so how many people are in your family, like your nuclear family?
Oh gosh. Both my parents have more than 10 siblings each. So yeah, and we're all named after each other. So sometimes you just gotta look at somebody and point at them and be like, you, I meant you. Because there might be 3 of us with the same name. You just never know. So yeah.
That's amazing. And you said Liberia, West Africa. So that's like the Ivory Coast, like Cote d'Ivoire and like Ghana. And
yeah, it's next door. Ivory Coast is just on the right side of us if you're looking at the world map. And so yeah, I have actually a lot of family members who are Ivorian technically, because my parents are both from Grangita, which is like the state. It's kind of like a north eastern if you look at the map, and the way that the border was split, it actually split my family in half. So it's like some of them are in Ivory Coast and some of them are in Liberia, but you know, it kind of all was the same space or region at one point in time.
Wow, that's so cool. So you were born there. How long did you live there for?
Yeah, so my family moved to the States when I was a child. So in elementary school, unfortunately, we had a civil war, 2 civil wars within a 20-year span. And yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but I think it's a really great learning lesson for us. And it's incredible how the country has bounced back, and like the Liberian people, the contribution in the States and around the world. But it's so fantastic. I go every year. My father still majority of the time lives there, and a lot of like 80% of my family is still in Liberia. So it's near and dear to me. I want to die there. I don't know, I'm just getting morbid, but yeah, that's how much I love it. You know, it's my people, it's my place. I feel so happy and warm when I'm there, as much as I travel around the world and get to meet so many wonderful people and go so many places and experiences. But Liberia and West Africa has my heart forever.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, which is not exactly Liberia. I haven't had experienced any wars, you know, just to make them make the situation a little brighter. But the longer I live and the further I sort of get away from the life that I once lived, the more I appreciate it. Yeah, have you noticed that, right? Like the simplicity of sort of growing up and just being in a family and knowing the streets and the signs and your home and your friends and all that stuff. You miss it in a way, but it's how you remain true to yourself, your core self. I always think about that.
Absolutely. Like it definitely defines who you are, a big part of your personality, for the better or worse. And again, I think fortunately, I come from a strong like people and like storyline, that it's something that I'm very proud of. I wasn't always, you know, like initially when we moved to the States, and I'm hearing everyone listening to hip hop and like house music, and I'm like, damn, this sounds really familiar, even though it's so different. But at the same time, trying to make friends as a kid, and people are like, oh, why do you guys, you know, eat these things or cook these things or wear these things? And I'm like, oh my God, I just want to be like everybody else. But as you're saying, as you get older, you get to appreciate these things. And instead of choosing one or the other, I found a way to intersect them all into like my own sound. And really make it my own thing.
That's so cool, Val. And I think that's clear. You know, I listened to almost all of your music, and I went far back, and just to jump forward, we'll come back in time, but you started releasing music in 2015. I think your first track was on SoundCloud, a remix of Living for the Alarm.
Oh my goodness. You dug, definitely you dug.
Hey man, I'm a DJ. If you don't have your first track on SoundCloud, you're not really in it.
Yo,
ain't that true?
That's funny. You're right. I actually started off in a duo. Me and another
Okay.
girl initially. I wanted to DJ, but I was really afraid to do it on my own, especially since there were no other women and no other people of color, and especially no other women of color doing it.
That's true.
So I and another friend got together and we formed a duo. Maybe a year or so into it, we parted ways. But one of the first things, the opportunities that we got were just friends being in California and LA, like, hey, can you do these remix? We know you DJ. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to do production, but I've always leaned into saying yes and figuring it out. So that band gave me an opportunity to do a remix for them. We also got hit up by like Jeffrey Tonneson and Cobra Starship to do a remix for them too.
What?
And they're just like, hey, can you do a remix? And we're just like, well,
Sure.
but we'll figure it out. And we turned it in and it was fantastic. And we actually got word it was like the #1 remix on their remix compilation that they put out. And they had big names on that. We were nobody at all.
Whoa.
And it actually kind of snowballed our career. We were called Immigré, which means immigrant in French, because we're both first generation.
Yeah.
And it kind of snowballed this whole Val Fleury Immigré situation.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's so cool. Like, I like to go that far back because it's part of your story, right? And I will tell you about, you're going to be episode, I think, 234 or 35 of this podcast.
Okay.
Thank you. I've been doing it almost 8 years. I've listened to a lot of music. I've listened to many different types of music from producers and DJs that I've talked to. Seldom does their first track have the foundation of their sound today. And I think just from hearing a little bit about your story and how you grew up, you have this foundation that is very eclectic and authentic. And I just wanted to like give you your roses on that, because it's clear that like your true passion and inspiration comes from where you're from. And I love that Immigrate. That's so cool, right? So you guys wanted to pay homage to where you're from, and your sound today is like an elevated version of that, of course, but I still hear it. And I think that's really cool.
Thank you so much. That means actually a lot, because it started that way and drifted in other directions over the years. Again, going back to like, I think fortunately, I'm so grateful a lot more people are hearing of me right now, but it's been like 10, 12 years. And, I say I'm sharing this part vulnerably that, initially when we came out, we had a very clear vision on what we wanted to do, but EDM was big, and then being in LA and seeing all these people that started after us or were getting big and famous off of other things and other sounds, like kind of chasing that and being much younger then and not feeling fully confident in myself. Just kind of having burnout, like going in so many other directions and experimenting, which I think is really good, but at the same time, I've burnt myself out. It was about 2 years or so where I didn't do music at all. But I think what was helpful during this time was like looking intrinsically, again, like kind of re-anchoring myself. Who am I? What makes me happy?
Yeah.
And hopefully this translates over to other people in the audience when they're listening to the music or when they're playing the songs online. So it was a little bit of a full circle moment for me. And then once I found my lane, just like triple downing on who I am and what my sound is.
Yeah. And look at you today, right? The afro-house sound is bigger than it's ever been, and it is blowing up.
Yeah.
Worldwide. I mean, it's been popular, of course, to the right audience, the people, that love it at first, but like you got Black Coffee dominating in the US right now in places like Chicago, New York, and LA, and then it's making its way into smaller middle markets. And I think that's incredible, right? And that's kind of the double-edged sword about being an artist who's true to their vision, right? Like I know I've talked to a lot of people in LA, New York, Chicago, right? Like you come up with a scene, like I got into it in 2014 during the EDM boom, right? And I was just like sort of chasing whatever I could and trying to ride the wave, but I was losing sight of like what I really wanted to do it for, right? Like, did I want to be famous? Did I want to just be a big DJ? And over the past like 3 to 4 years, I've really gone back to that person who got into it, which is a fan first, that's inspired by the experiences that I originally had, and just said, you know what? I'm gonna admire who I admire, but I don't want to try and be anyone other than myself. And that has resonated in such a deep way with me, but my fans. And that's a great feeling. And it's hard to do because all we want is success right away. That's just the world we live in. But it's not fulfilling, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. That resonated so much. And I think really one of the key takeaways of what you just shared is very much so about the feeling, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the person or the
Yeah.
scene, but how do you want to feel? How do you want other people to feel when they hear the music or see you? And I think if you can lean in onto that, you will find success, whatever that looks like for you, but you will find success.
Yeah, so true. So true. And sounds like have you ever had like a day job, quote unquote, or have you always been sort of an entrepreneur?
Oh wow. Yes, I've totally have had a day job. I
Okay.
think I still even
I still
I
do.
feel
I
like I have
still
like
do.
5
Same
day
job.
jobs right now.
I'm not saying wow. No, I'm like one of those people who was like, I thought that if I went full into music, that it would become a job for me. And I think everybody has their own journey to success. But by having a day job, I have been able to sort of build this routine like we were talking about earlier, right? And it gives me the creative freedom to know that like I can do this when I'm ready to, because it's really hard to be creative all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there should be any shame in having a day job or another job that supports your creative endeavors.
Yes.
I actually made that mistake initially. So back in the day, I used to work at a record label, really pop, very like poppity pop, pop, pop. And it wasn't my scene at all. We ended
Yeah.
up getting laid off. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just gonna do music full time.
Yeah.
And I did that for several years.
Wow.
And I don't know that I would take back those years, but if you were to ask me, I would do them a little bit differently. I
Mhm.
think just being in a tough spot for money regularly put me into some situations that I would love to have not have experienced.
Yep.
um, but the moment that I found another job that could support my music endeavors, it just really opened up worlds for me. Like I could then say no to things that didn't serve me, that weren't safe for me, that
Yep.
just were no good.
Yep.
And it actually started to make me more creative because it made me leave this survivalist mentality and know that like my foundation, my fundamentals were taken care of. So now like, okay, I feel safe. I feel
Yep.
more open to create music or take gigs just for fun or go out and network and meet people. So I have, thank God, graduated much further than that position since.
Yeah.
But I still do design, like we were talking earlier. Like I'm a product designer. I do visual design, but I also do product design, mostly for music tech companies. So
Mhm.
really helping them understand like what the user, the business, and the technical constraints like could be to solve a problem or like creating objectives. And I love it. Like it's the
Yeah.
best middle child job ever.
It all comes back to that. I love
Because
it.
it's like you're not great at anything, but you can be damn good at a lot of things. And it's people, it's technology, it's creative, it's flexible,
I love that.
and it's just, I don't know, it's the perfect job, I think, outside of music. What's cool about product design too, it can lean into music. So music tech, working for music companies or
Mhm.
entertainment companies. So for example, I'm sure that Spotify has a product designer or SoundCloud or all these apps, etc. But it's really opened up a lot for me and I can do it adjacently.
Yeah.
And it's funny you're talking about full-time jobs because when I initially started as product design, I was working with a lot more financial companies, fintech companies, and I stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm like coming in there with my cool girl clothes, and it's like, I'm the white man in finance, you know? It's just
Yep.
all the
Yep.
Harvard bros
Yep.
and like UPenn Wharton School, you know, kind of guys.
Yep.
But it was awesome. Like I learned so much from them. And I think vice versa, like having someone like me in this space that just created more
Disrupted.
comfortable and shook things up, and we all
Yeah.
became really good friends. They would cover for me sometimes. They would come to my shows, and it was awesome. It was really cool to mix the worlds.
I love that. I've had the same experience. I like you, have had a day job. I defy the millennial stereotype, Val. I've had the same job since I graduated college. I'm a salesman, right? So through this job over the years, I've learned that there's a lot more crossover into the music world than I've realized. Professionalism, timeliness, communication skills. I mean, like, it's incredible the people we deal with, right, in the music industry. They don't respond. They don't know how to respond. They're late to everything. I'm the guy that's 10 minutes early, ready to go with backup plans, B, C, D, E, F, And I've realized too with my job, I like that you told that story. I was trying to be two people, right? I was trying to be the salesman that wasn't also in music. And the second that I dropped both of those, like, I don't want people in music to know that I have a job. I don't want people that I work with to know that I'm going for music. I dropped both little acts and was just me, Sherm.
Yeah.
And now people that I work with love to come see me DJ. My customers, they love it. That's what they ask me about, right? Because like we're doing something that's so unique. That's why it's called a dream job, right? Like we're trying to make something crazy happen. And sometimes I don't even know what I'm trying to do, but I do know that it's really fun and I love doing it, especially this podcast, having conversations with people like you, because it all comes from a place of just pure, genuine curiosity. I'm so interested in people, in the world, and I learn from that and I grow from that. So it's like, I do all these things of like, do you ever sleep? I'm like, I sleep. Trust me, I sleep. But do I do
sleep
a lot
really
of
well in the bed that I paid for?
Yeah, exactly. I sleep at night knowing I got a paycheck coming, to be honest. But I asked you that because I really respect someone like you who clear. I don't want to say like, you got it all together. We all have our faults, but like you're doing it all and learning from each of these things that you're doing. And it's all coming back to you as a person, you as your brand, you as your job. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. It's not easy. It's definitely commendable with people who are trying to make it all work.
Yep.
One of the things that I will say, again, going back to those Google Calendars, is the organization part.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot more talented people than myself out there, but a lot of the transferable skills that I've gained through working professionally in the, corporate world has really helped me. So I got calendars up the wazoo. I have, who I need to talk to. I have a plan, like
organized.
we need a plan for success. And you know how to work with teams, right? Or like finding the right people, problem solving. And I think that initially when I started my career 10 years ago, I didn't have these skills, I really didn't. And I think that's why a lot more of the snowball is happening for me now 10 years later than before, because it took me time, especially through the corporate world, to learn and apply the skills. So it's not easy. Like even for this year, 2024, one of my objectives, I literally looked at it like I had a product manager coming up to me and was like, yo, we have this new feature we need to deploy in 6 months. What's our, let's work backwards. What's possible? What are the constraints? Who are the stakeholders? Let's design this out. And like my product design mind is like, kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I got the challenge. A friend of mine last October was like, you putting out 5 releases in 2024. And I'm like, oh man, 5? How? Like me? I don't know about that. But then I was like, okay, cool. Product, you put out products, you're a product designer. We have to launch 5 in 2024. What are what are our benchmarks, and what do we need to do to get this going, kind of thing. And so I'm on the 3rd one right now. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, 7 months ago in October, I would have been like, you're a liar.
Well, congrats to you. The songs that are already out are incredible. So the product rollout is going fantastic, Val.
Thank you. But yeah, that's how I definitely looked at it, was like, this is a job. We have a plan.
Yeah.
The music is great. Beyond anything else,
right.
The music, you have to love it, and your like followers and your fan base, not the whole world, but the fan base that you have specifically need to be on board and love it. But now what? I don't want to just work on these songs and it just sits on SoundCloud for 11 and a half people's to hear.
Yeah, because these days you need to know how to market it, and you need to be able to do it on your own too as an artist, right? Like,
Yes.
what's your maybe humble or honest opinion on self-releases versus label releases? Do you think releasing on a label is necessary to an artist's growth, or is self-releasing sometimes more beneficial?
So I would say everyone can and should self-release if they can.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you have a great, maybe distribution, like marketing partner distribution deal, that
Yeah.
would be the most ideal
Right.
situation versus a label where
Mm-hmm.
you get to keep your masters and you get to keep,
Yep.
control with the marketing distribution deal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Finding the right one though might take some time because I feel like that's the level I'm at, right? I don't
Yeah.
necessarily, I'm open if a label comes to me and say, hey, let's talk.
Right.
But having I worked at Venice Music before this,
Okay.
Chart Carter, Suzy Ryu up until October of last year.
Wow.
And just seeing so many independent artists release through a distributor and having a marketing services end to it was almost better and more effective than any label deal from a big or small. So right now for me, I'm still kind of looking for the distribution partnership that would be the best. Write me. I am Val Fleury at Gmail.
Who
But
knows who's
right now,
listening? You never know.
yeah, right now, all of the works that I've put out this year, the remixes, the original tracks have been independently released. Not gonna lie to you, it's a lot of work. But
Yeah.
again, if you have that organization, it's like, okay, this is my release date. 6 weeks ideally before you want to start your marketing activities. You want to start, content. Is it, registered? All of these things, like literally a whole list. You can't see my whiteboard right now, but like I literally look at this thing when I get out the shower, when I get home, when I'm brushing my teeth, like just to keep on top of it. But if you can stay organized, you can self-publish yourself because that's what I've been doing. And trust me, I know much. Even though I worked at these companies before, I was a designer. I wasn't on that execution side of things. So I'm learning a lot on my own, and it's going really well. Put your money behind the music, put your money behind, advertising, Facebook, Instagram, etc. There's so many great resources out there that's inexpensive, but I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to have to spend some money, a few $100s at the very minimum. And maybe I would encourage you to wait until you have a couple hundred saved up to really get a bang for your buck in releasing.
I love that. And I completely agree. I think there's positives and negatives to everything. I personally encourage because there's so many labels, so many artists, so much music, right? Especially in the DJ house music world, it's like I got to release on this label if I want to get this or get that. Guess what? Labels want to sign people who have a following, right? So you can cross-pollinate followings together. So unless you're making the world's most wild tech house track, which just really isn't happening anymore these days, right? Then you need to learn how to market and self-release your own tracks first, because I learned something very valuable in 2022. I went to ADE and I saw Diplo speak about building his team, right? And he's a success story in many different ways, right? It took him a long time to build up his following and his label Mad Decent. He was his own manager. He was his own agent. He was his own label owner. He threw his own parties, right? He may not have done it perfectly, but he did know what he was looking for in these roles, right? And if you think about a record label, there's a lot of record labels out there that are going to tell you they're going to do this. They're going to tell you you're going to do that. But you need to be able to read between the lines and know exactly what they're offering, because it's not always a two-way street. I'm not saying record labels are out to get artists, but why is it going to be worth
business?
They're a business, right? They're a business. We're all trying to make money out here. So I encourage artists, if you've got music, one, stack up your music. Two, yes, save music so you can market it, but understand how it all works on the back end, on the front end. Before you release the track, are you building up content? While you release the track, what kind of content are you releasing? And how much after are you promoting the track too, right? Every song.
Yeah, I would say that's even more important than
It
anything
is.
before.
It's like people just you hype it up, you drop it, and then it's like on to the next one. It's like I want to get back to like appreciating the music a little bit more, and I think that is happening in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I would say that 4 to 6 weeks window should be you building everything to kind of push it once the song is out. Because pre-save, sure. Like if you're Beyonce, that stuff matters. But like if you're
Nobody
Joe
pre-saved.
Schmo
Yeah.
from Wichita, like your grandma, someone at your church might pre-save it, so you got 5 people. But once it's out, because you're asking people to do things, and we have so much stimulation, and everyone's asking us some CTA at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But like once it's out and be like, hey, listen or buy, that's much more impactful than all of the pre-save stuff. So
Yeah.
when I first started releasing a lot of my efforts, if you look back earlier this year, the first release, I was so nervous about, the pre-stuff. And it went well, but like all of my focus, or at least 80% of my focus now, is like once the track is out, how are we keeping that momentum going for at least another 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, I love that. And I think what's cool is the TikTok and Reels and everything, right? Like we get that. That's what it is. It is what it is. But I just talked to a guy recently who is a big SoundCloud guy, and I think SoundCloud is having this revitalization actually, because you see a lot of these, like there's a BBL Drizzy edit by this guy named Red, Redd, right? And somehow the song got picked up. These kids want to find it. So they got to go to SoundCloud, which is the only place that you can share this music. So now we're getting back to SoundCloud and we're seeing the circle come full again, Val. And I'm really excited about that, because I remember when I first got into dance music, I was a fan first, like I hope most people are. And I wanted to find full sets. I wanted to find free edits. I wanted to see who this artist was, who they're reposting, who they're liking. And that's the type of platform that SoundCloud is to me, rather than a Spotify, which is I still feel a very transactional thing. It's also a beast for an artist to figure out. So I feel like we are on the cusp. And I said this right before the pandemic, actually, and the pandemic happened, right? And then a lot of good things happen with music. I think collaboration is at an all-time high. People really got back to their sound. But then, the short-term stimulation of quick tracks, songs that are less than 3 minutes that are radio edits, like we're passive listening to that, right? What happened to the albums? What happened to the sets? What happened to the real musical experience? And I think that's coming back now, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I decided to look at my project as a series this year.
Yeah.
And not just like one single or 2 singles. I mean, I really planned it to be every 2 months, basically, that there's going to be a new song coming out, because while I'm not putting out an album right now, I think it's really important. There's never been a better time in history to be able to release music, and we are really lucky to have these platforms and avenues to do so easily and efficiently. I don't think that people should be limited to necessarily their production skills. Like, have some skills, but if you gotta outsource some things, like maybe you're really great at arranging, but you're not the best engineer to mix and master, ain't no shame in sending that, your 80% or 85% finished product out to someone else, or collaborating with another songwriter or a singer or something like that. Like, don't limit yourself. I think when I first started many years ago, when I wanted to, what took me so long to accelerate where I am now, we were looking at it back then so much as like a purist. It should be like a woman, and like a brown woman in the scene, like, everyone's gonna be like, is her boyfriend her ghost producer, or this kind of thing. So you were just trying to be 10 times as better than everybody. But I'm looking at some of these dudes out here, and they have ghost producers, and they don't sleep horribly at night.
No, and they don't contribute shit to the scene too. Yeah, they don't. They're selfish. I feel you.
I mean, look, people are just trying to get the music out there. I'm less of a hater
I get it.
I'm like, and you can be a DJ and you can be a producer. Everyone gets to be in music, you know.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a beautiful thing. Long
Yeah.
as you're a good person and you're trying to be as authentic as it is to you.
Mhm.
But as you were saying, like looking at it as a fuller concept for me was really important. So
Yeah.
a lot of these songs I came up with, the ideas were during COVID. So even though my friend had challenged me with 5 songs, I have maybe about 20 or so done, and the majority
Cool.
of them were just inspired by experiences and things that popped up during COVID.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just can't wait to get them out into the world. So technically, just came out June 14th, and before that was PST, which was my Coachella track, and then Statues was in February, and there'll be 2 more this year, at least.
That's amazing. And I got to tell you, right? Like you took a little break, which you mentioned, and over the past 2 years, like it's clear that you've been working hard, like staying true to
You
yourself.
see
and your
these
passion.
bags? You see these bags?
Yeah, no, I trust me. Look at that angle. How's that? Yeah. We're old people, okay? Deal with it. If you're on audio, we look great. But
We look amazing.
we look amazing, yes. Now, Val, PST Statues and Technically, these are really, really sick and like
Yeah.
melodically beautiful tracks. I really like Technically because you know you like got a little Chicago in there. You got a
Oh
little
yeah, the Chicago
soul.
shout out.
Sick. Is that your vocals or like who recorded that? Is that you?
Yeah,
I
so it's
figured, yeah.
my vocals, but it's pitched down because you know I like things dark and
Of
underground.
course. Yeah, sick.
Also peeking out in that vocals is another friend of mine, Drew Hurt.
Mhm.
He is from Detroit. So I thought it was really nice to just add a male's vocals on top of my pitch down.
Yeah.
And then someone who's like authentically from the town, you know. So shout out to Drew. He's a good guy. He's a great guy, really good engineer, tours
Cool.
a lot, does a lot of like live sound, live lighting, etc. So
cool.
go look him up.
Yeah, no, that song is so raw, and PST is awesome. Like obviously pays homage to like your time in Los Angeles, and Statues is a really special track though. Like that's to me the perfect like blend and overlap of a track a DJ would love, right? And like makes it on the USB and you play, which you know is the biggest compliment a DJ can pay a DJ. But also like an easy to enjoy song for a fan, and also a song that could easily get you into that afro house world. You know what I mean? Like you need those sort of transition tracks. I think that for many fans out there, future fans of artists like you, it can be hard to discover just another afro house artist, right? But with the track like Statues, you really found this beautiful balance of something that is very raw and unique, but still is like has that foundation of just like afro house, and it's so cool. Like I loved it. I listened to it 3 times in a row. Seriously, the first time I heard it, I was like,
thank you.
Okay, like it's like right away, and you're like, okay, yeah, you got my attention. It's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, with that one, we did think a lot about what would be my introductory track.
Yeah.
So out of all of the tracks that I worked on, I did think about that, you know. So I'm happy to hear that resonated. And then with PST, when I found out that I had the Coachella offer for 2024, bing, 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 bing.
So
I
sick.
was like, I literally wrote that track on the train from Philly to New York a few months before.
What?
Yeah, PST was written in
On the train.
On a train.
Love it.
Amtrak.
Shout out Amtrak.
Me and Biden ride an Amtrak. From Philly to New York, and I just gotten the notice that I got invited, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to write a song for the drive. When you land in LAX and you hop on the highway to Indio or any of the desert cities, like what are people going to be playing? Because when you're driving to Coachella, you see all these billboards, you know, all these big artists. It's like Diplo and Hardwell and all these huge people. And I'm like, I'm never going to get a billboard like right now.
Right.
But if I can have a song that I know people will like and play on their way to the festival,
Yep.
and some people are less fortunate because these tickets are expensive and it's a whole deal. So I just wanted to create this oral experience for people who are driving to the festival or for friends and family who couldn't make it or want to come next year. So the lyrics goes, "Wish you were here on Pacific Standard Time."
So cool. That has a lot deeper meaning than just being in LA. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then because those two initial tracks were more on the melodic and like vibey track, the third one I wanted to come a little bit more with a punch in your mouth. The nicest and the prettiest punch in your mouth. So went in the direction of technically, and with June being Black Music Month, just found it really appropriately. And then just like energy around movement being the end of May. And
Love movement.
I just
Best
thought this would
festival.
be, yeah, I just thought this would be such a track for the summer. And yeah, just giving homage to the pioneers and the drive behind electronic music in, Detroit, New York, and Chicago being some of the meccas of the music. So yeah, that's my
Oh
that's
my
my track.
gosh. So can you tell us what's to come and when it's coming in terms of new music?
Yes. So I am still deciding which one will be the fourth release, but it will definitely come towards the end of the summer. We're still
Awesome.
working right now with technically, and it's going really well. So we want to give it its full life.
4 to 6
But
weeks, baby. Come on.
yes, yes. There will be another track towards the end of the summer. And then in November, there's something really awesome happening that I literally cannot mention right now. But there's going to be a big show in LA in November, and there should be a release around that show. So let's check back in with each other in a couple months or even weeks, not months, a couple weeks, and I might be able to share a little bit more about that, but it will be 2 more before the end of the year.
That's so exciting. Stoked for you. That's awesome. Whatever it is, you got me excited. You don't even have to tell me, and I'm already excited.
Yes,
That's
thank you so much.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, you mentioned DJing and all the places that you have DJed. You've literally DJed on all 7 continents?
I have DJed on. No, you'll be surprised the one that I haven't DJed on yet. 6 out of 7
Australia?
continents. No, I played Australia, New Year's, a couple years ago.
Well, I mean, Antarctica? Did you play in Antarctica?
I played Antarctica in December of 2023.
Why am I like not remembering continents right now? I'm like,
It's the least obvious one. That's why.
Europe?
I haven't played in Africa yet.
You
I know.
I wasn't even gonna say that. Yeah, I assumed like first gig or something. You come back.
Everywhere I've played except for my own continent, but it's gonna change. It's gonna change.
That has to, it's kind of funny. I swear, it's like it's probably a little different from where you're from, but like, ABBA. I watched the ABBA documentary on a United flight recently, and they got really famous, and then they were hated in Sweden. And I'm not saying you're being hated, but it's kind of like, why is it so hard to make it back to where you're from? Like sometimes, like I'm from Indianapolis. It's obviously not like the scene that Chicago is, but like I like can't get a gig in Indy. It's like hilarious to me. I'm like I can play anywhere in Chicago. I play in New York, LA, Miami. And I'm like I can't get a gig in Indy, man. It's wild, right?
Yeah.
I have in Africa. That's crazy.
Yeah. I am quite excited that the continent is getting so much attention and energy in it right now.
Yeah, tell me about that. I feel like it's things are going on. My video editor is she lives north of Johannesburg in South Africa. They love drum and bass down there, right? She tells me about the scene and the country, and there's a lot of different types of music going on in Africa, that's for sure.
I mean, it's a whole ass continent. So whatever you need is there. But it just warms my heart. Like if like 10-year-old Val could see what things are like now, like it would have just made my whole day, you know, to see, because for the longest time, you had to pep talk yourself about being African, you know, whether that's your contribution to music or to the world, or, you know, everyone's just seeing, you know, famine or poverty, etc. Not to say that those things aren't everywhere else.
Yeah, of
But
course.
like it's so amazing to see us flourishing and like in the media and our contributions. So I'm just really positive and optimistic and so thrilled at all that's going on right now with Liberia, with West Africa, with the continent. And I promise you, one of these days when we talk, I'm like, guess what? I'm playing on the continent.
Yeah.
We're on live streaming. Everyone's gonna watch it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So cool though. I mean, just some of those opportunities that you mentioned though. DJ'd on a cruise in Antarctica. You hold on, I got a few of these here. You played in Berlin and Sydney and Shanghai. I mean, that is
Yeah.
unbelievable. That's one of my like long-term goals is in music is like it's taken me so many incredible places and I love
Yeah.
traveling. So it's like I get to go to places and like play music there for people that don't know me or maybe do know me or whatever it is. And it's like the
Absolutely.
craziest thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we definitely have one of the best jobs. Absolutely. Like, I mean, we're not necessarily saving lives here.
No, but
It's
in
still
ways,
impactful
yeah.
and wonderful. And I'm so lucky. And that's why I don't take this for granted. Sometimes you see DJs and they're upset or riled up or having expectations. Like I still play like I'm in my room. And I think it really translates. I think that's one of the compliments that I get the most. It's like, man, you just look like you're having such a great time up there. And I'm like, I legit am. I legit am having a ball. And I hope you are too. But if you're not, guess what? One of us is going home fulfilled tonight.
Step out, yeah.
And I hope it's both of us, but it's definitely gonna be me.
Well, I feel like, isn't it strange today? It's almost like people are like, it's so cool that you have a lot of fun up there. It's like, what else would I be doing? Right? It's like, especially in sort of some parts of our world, right? It's like people that just look like they're not having fun on purpose because that's a look. I'm like, I couldn't even try and not have fun up here. I became a DJ to play the music that I love the most in the hopes that people would say, oh yeah, that's yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. I'm playing what people didn't know they wanted because
absolutely.
that's the fun of it to me. So I feel that. And it's like funny to me that like big or small, there's like this whole shtick of DJs that like don't have fun because like that's cool. And I'm like, well, the fans then aren't gonna have fun, but they think that's cool. So it's like,
Absolutely. And a lot of times they're looking at you and they're watching and they're wanting a permission to release, you know? So it
yeah, you
really
gotta
does
give
go
that
a
to them.
long way.
Oh, same. That's one thing that I really leaned into. My mom told me a long time ago. She came to see me DJ in college when I like first started.
Oh,
And I was just getting into it and like there were some big college crowds and stuff, but I was nervous and I wasn't like really looking up too much. I was a little bit and stuff. And after the show, she goes, "You were playing great music, but you weren't looking at anybody. Like that's not you, Matt. Like you need to connect with people. You need to
oh,
smile." And I was like, God, you're right, Mom. And ever since then, I haven't lost that touch or that feeling because that's what fascinated me about DJs in the music world was how there could be all these people there from different parts of the world, different walks of life, whatever it
absolutely.
is, right? And then this DJ is able to connect us all through music. So it's like they're up there doing what they love, and that's going to resonate with the energy in the audience, right? Like we talked about Derek Carter earlier. He has this famous quote.
Oh God.
It's pretty raw, but he says, if the DJ's not having fun up there, then why the fuck would anybody else be having fun? And I'm like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
why do we have to remind people that sometimes? But I love that people are sometimes looking for permission because even still with music and it being in public, right? Like dancing is like a way to release, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not saying you have to like, be an incredible dancer, but just two-step in and like shaking your
Yeah.
shoulders a little bit is like a great time. So, you know, That's what makes DJing so special to me, especially all over the world, because you've played a lot of different shows, right? Like you're a resident at Soho House. How many Soho houses have you played?
Wow.
Because that's pretty
I
damn
mean,
cool,
Soho
Val.
House Berlin, Soho House, all of the New York ones, much of the LA ones, Chicago, Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
sick, right? That's really
yeah.
sick. I've played not Soho House, which is really cool, but I cut my teeth in Chicago as an open format DJ playing at W hotels, day clubs, nightclubs, pop EDM, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it isn't me now, but I still love to go back to those feelings where I was like taking chances, playing throwbacks, doing new stuff, like getting people who are seated in a restaurant to be like, yeah, yeah, let's get
It's
around
funny.
shots
It's
now.
funny
I'm
you say
feeling it.
that because I also started out as a open format DJ.
Yep.
I think it really trains you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like definitely army training.
It
Okay.
is.
And also on vinyl. I started out on vinyl. It
Fire
took me
beast.
so long to switch over. I think I switched over to USBs during COVID.
Oh my
So it was
gosh.
vinyl and then it was Serato and then it was USBs
Yeah.
later from me. But I think sometimes people forget now when they see me in these years, and I'm again very fortunate to like be able to make my own sound and have my own thing. But a lot of times people are like, oh my God, like, do you play hip hop? Do you play blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, I don't now,
Yeah, but I did.
but I can, and I will still
Rip it.
DJ circles around your head, punk to polka to hip hop. Like I will play it all
Same.
and play it all very well. So it actually was quite rewarding recently. Someone came up to me and like, well, yeah, we're doing this hip hop night in LA. And like, are you like want to invite you to do it, but like, are you sure? Are you sure you can play? And I'm like, sir, I'm very certain. I'm certain that I can play your hip hop night. And like I'm just doing this for fun, and like this is a nice like throwback and it's nice out, let's do it. And like it's all dudes on dudes on dudes on dudes. And like me and like one other female who's
Uh-huh.
DJing and she's killer. And we just the two of us, she and I just like crushed crushed the whole thing. It's like we have like 8 guys looking over our shoulders,
Is it
Just,
really them doing it? Yeah.
like, yeah, is it really us doing it? Looking to get the track IDs and just like, oh, yeah, cool.
Wow, it's sick.
It happens a lot, actually. Like a lot of times when you go to places again, people think you're someone's entourage or
Yeah.
someone's girlfriend or
Uh-huh.
whatever, and then like, oh, and then you play, and they're like, oh, she's good. In fact, she's really good. And I'm like, unfortunately, slash fortunately, we have to be 3 times as good. So
Wow.
yeah, or one time I was playing in Mexico in San Juan del Linde. Is that what it's called? Yeah, San Juan del Linde. And I get there early and I get to the DJ area and I'm starting like, organize my stuff around the booth. And this guy just comes up, he's rushing, he's like, excuse me, patrons can't be up here. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not a patron. And they're like, what are you doing up here? Like, who invited you? And I was like, oh, I'm here to play. And they're like, you? And I was like, yeah. And then I just point to the poster and I'm like, you see the big name on top? It's me. And they're like, oh, we thought that was a guy. And I was like, no, it's me. I'm here to play. Yeah.
I will say,
Unfortunately, it happens a lot.
there is definitely some truth. I mean, there is definitely truth, not some truth, that females have to be 3 times as good and show up and prove it still, right?
Yeah.
And like we talked about Kalina, right?
Yeah.
Kalina Zenders, I'm her biggest fan also.
Amazing.
But like, I just talked to her and I just talked to Annabelle England about this too, right?
Oh,
I was like, yo, you guys have been like artists in the scene for a while, like begging for credits on songs, like just doing like re-recordings of tracks, like trying to find your way, having success here, having success there. Now you're finally like in full control of your music and your original sound, and now you're DJing, and now we're seeing you guys really blow up. And that's a new muscle to exercise for them, right?
yeah,
So it's like
absolutely.
I love to see that. I love to see these vocalists, specifically women, that are like, you know what? I'm done being like the 15-minute add-on to a show that's usually going to be a male. I'm going to be the DJ because I have my own taste and my own music, right? Like I love night bass, Val, and like that's like my, it's like my vice. I love it. And Kalina is like Miss Night Bass, right?
Yes,
And
she is.
she is. And just seeing her rip a set is just like so awesome. Like her original music, that a lot of it is on night bass, and then some of her more soulful stuff with LPGOB. I just love seeing these arcs of female acts that have like been in the game for so long and now really getting that platform and being equipped for it. I think that's a huge thing that I think is lost on people that are these one-hit wonders, especially from social media virality. They're not equipped to tour. They're not equipped for equipment malfunctions, literally. They're not equipped to think about longevity and cultivating that fan base, right? And that's why I respect people like you that have been in it for so long. You are staying true to yourself, and now it's just like it's a product, right? Like you've been marketing this product for a long time. It's gotten in front of more people, and now look at you, like you have opportunities all over the world.
I think it takes intention, though. I
Yeah.
think a lot of the women and a lot of the people of color in the scene have come together with allies, but have come together to try to empower ourselves, just really seeing that we can get further together versus competition and
Mm-hmm.
jealousy. I think that's one of the things that kind of works against the guys, especially white guys in the scene. It's like this, oh, I'm cooler, I'm better, whatever. And like the rest, the majority of us are like, okay, we're all good. We can all be better
Yep.
together. So how do we figure this thing out? Like we know that some people are going to rise probably quicker, or faster, and there's still space though for everybody. And right now we're all trying to do this thing. So how do we do this together? A lot of the women and a lot of the people of color have come up with official or unofficial collectives or just advisory groups or checking in on each other to see how things are going, whether that's a couple times a month or a couple times a year. And it's been very helpful, even for me. I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups and people share their resources and knowledge. And it's been extremely, extremely helpful. So I really encourage that. And I think also the mindset or the perspective that just because things were different or challenging for me in the past, one doesn't make it right that happened, and two doesn't mean that it needs to be difficult and challenging for the next generation of people to come up. Like I hope it's easier. Like I hope it doesn't take the next Black girl or anybody 10 years to be where I am. And if I can help with whether 2% or 200% with that,
Yeah,
like
you're a role model,
I'm very
Val.
game.
Absolutely. You're a role
Yeah.
model with a dream and an intention to help others like find their way. And I said at the very beginning, you're a champion of the underground, and especially those that are underrepresented, like you just mentioned, right? Like the LGBTQ community, the entire Black community. And I feel like as a Chicagoan, it does sound kind of weird, doesn't it? I'm like 5 blocks. I'm 5 blocks away from the warehouse, Val, and
Oh wow.
I go and I just stand in front of that thing. It's a law office. People think I probably look crazy, and I just look at it and I just like breathing in, man, and like people.
Yes.
It's lost on people that house music came as a service and a place for these people, the Black community and the LGBTQ community, to have a place to be themselves, right? So it was built upon this. I don't want to lose that. I don't want people.
Neither do I.
Yeah, right. And I think the word intention, perfect. You have to have intention, and having intention with that, empowering those communities means showing up every day for them and going out of your way to give opportunities, going out of your way to tell people the stories. I think it's storytelling as well. I think is really important. I think that just resonates with people on a deeper level when you can tell a story. So I think that's so cool that you're like in these groups, people sharing their resources, their connections, but their story, right? And then you tell those stories, and then I tell those
Absolutely.
stories.
Yes, I think it's really important. And, I also want to mention about the history and the facts being what they are. It doesn't necessarily mean that the music and the community is gate kept just for certain groups of people. It's part of the beauty, right? That this is
Yep.
an open society, open community. But I think sometimes when you open your doors so wide, that the message and the honor and the celebration and the storytelling can be diluted or kind of Columbus, if you will.
I like that.
If you will. And so it's been an honor, and I'm not the only person. There are other people who are doing the good work and like keeping the story alive and giving credit where it's due, at the same time making the community open and safe for everybody to be a part of it.
Yeah. Gosh. Wow. You could be in politics too, by the way. I would vote for you if you're running for. I don't know what you're running for, but I'm voting for Val for sure.
Thank you. It's too late for 2024, Val Fleury.
No, it's not. It's not. It's anybody's race. That's for sure. Well, this has been so much fun, Val. I was already a fan before we started talking, but just connecting with you, I mean, I have a lot of admiration for what you're doing, not only for yourself, but the community around you, and that's coming quickly behind us, right? Like, I think part of our job is to usher along the youth, because we've all had role models growing up, right? Did you have any, I forgot to ask, did you have any mentors like in the
I
beginning that
I
pushed
really
you?
didn't.
You
I
didn't. It was all
really
you.
did not. I literally started, I mean, outside of knowing the history of the music,
Yeah.
I think that what really motivated me, because I was like, oh wow, these people look like me. These people have a similar story to me. Your
Yeah.
Frankie Knuckles, your Belleville Threes, your Larry Levons. I was like, oh my goodness,
You know your stuff.
they're just like me. They're older, maybe different generation, but they're just when I started DJing and into music, when I tell you there is no one who looked like me,
I believe it.
or like that I could touch, that I could reach out to and ask questions
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
around, that wasn't there for me. But just like having your favorite movie star poster on your wall or a boy band or something, that these were the my mentors. These are my inspirations, and that's what I had. But I do love that nowadays there's so many collectives, or you can join clubs, etc., or these WhatsApp groups to ask real people in real time what's going on and what you should know. And like, that would have been so beautiful for me, but just because it didn't happen for me, that doesn't mean it's any different. Like, now it's here, and I love this. So
That's the good side of the internet for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Also, you know your dance music history. That's
I try.
everybody needs to. I watch the documentary about Chicago house music like once a year at least, just to like refresh my memory. It's so good. I actually just finished a song with a female, Cosmalia. Shout out to Cosmalia, and we sampled this guy. I can't remember what his name was, but he was like there in the beginning when it was in New York, and then it came to Chicago at the Loft in New York, right? And he's talking about, it's like, it's so good. I'll send you the track, you'll love it. And he's like, I knew in my core, right, that this was the beginning. And I was like, oh yeah, there's power in that, right? So
Yes.
I love that. And yeah, I think let's keep doing our thing and ushering in the next generation with the knowledge that it all started somewhere, and we need to always remember where it came from, right? Because you got to pay your respects. That's why I love living here, right? Like there's so much love for house music in Chicago. And that's really special. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Well, also like
That's great.
Philly's pretty dope. There's a really cool history of
Oh
music
my
there.
goodness. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like the history of music that has come through this town,
Yep.
it's incredible. So, yeah, Philadelphia, New York, like just man, we're so lucky to be
We are.
living in the times that we live and like the cities that we live in. And I was saying before, electronic music, it's incredible because being that it is a younger genre, we still have a lot of our pioneers alive. We're losing very many, year on year, but we can still, ask these questions, even the documentary, to people.
Yes.
You can't say that for necessarily the pioneers of rock and roll or classical music per se, but like hip hop, electronic music.
Yep.
It's so amazing that we have these people still around.
Oh my God, I completely agree. I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm so happy to be alive right now and not in like the 1800s.
Shoot, me too.
Yeah, shit. Wow. Wow. That was
Absolutely.
let's just
But
pretend
yeah.
that was really dark comedy stand-up. How about that? We
No,
could do
I
like a
understood.
bit.
I
We could do like a
understood.
bit, you and I, right? Where I'm just like the average white guy. I'm like, wish I wasn't alive in the 1800s. And you're like, shit, man. Are you kidding? Me too. Oh
But
my
two
God.
things can be true at the same time.
This is very true. This is very true. Well, we'll end on a positive note then. Val, thank you so much. I really mean it.
Thank
This was a great
you.
conversation. You're an amazing artist. Keep doing your thing. Shout out West Africa. Somebody get this girl a gig, for goodness sake. We need all 7 continents on the resume.
Yes, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to more international gigs. So trying to get back to Europe, would love to get back to Asia,
Yep.
Oceania, and definitely the continent.
Amazing. Well, we'll be in touch soon, Val. Appreciate you so much. I'm really glad we finally got to do this.
Thank you so much, Sherm. You guys can find me online. Everything is I am Val Fleury. I am Val Fleury.
And yes, she is Val Fleury. Wow.
Yes.
All right, later, Val.
Bye now.
Man, do I love Sherman the Booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherman the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.